Okay everyone, so for the glazed kielbasa pineapple bites, you will need the following ingredients. You're going to be needing a 14-ounce package of kielbasa. The one that I chose here is just the regular polka kielbasa. You will need a 20-ounce can of pineapple chunks. Any brand is fine. You're going to need some teriyaki sauce. This is the one that I have on hand. You'll be needing 3 tablespoons of that. You'll also be needing 1 tablespoon of sweet chili sauce. You'll also be needing 1 tablespoon of honey, and this is the one that I'm using. You're also going to be needing some juice from the pineapples, and you'll be needing 1 tablespoon of that. You'll also be needing a cutting board to cut the kielbasa with a knife. You're going to be needing some measuring spoons, a whisk to mix up all the sauces, and a baster to baste the glaze over the bites. So I'm going to get this all ready for you, and I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and use 1 tablespoon of all the ingredients. I'm going to start off with the teriyaki sauce. We just need 1 generous tablespoon of that. Next is the sweet chili. Another generous tablespoon. And lastly, the honey. And now we need 1 tablespoon of the juice. Let me see how I do this. This is the pineapple juice. Okay, so now we're just going to whisk all those ingredients together. And make a glaze. And there you go. The glaze is all ready, so we're going to go ahead and set that aside. Okay, so I forgot to mention that you're going to be needing a box of toothpicks, the sturdier the better, to put the kielbasa and the pineapple bites together. So what you're going to do is get a pineapple chunk and just put them together, just like that. Okay, so I am just about finishing up. Now I've had the oven preheating to 425, and I'm going to go ahead and get this plate out of the way, and I'm going to go ahead and baste them with the glaze. I've already got the oven preheated to 425. So once I've got all these glazed, I will go ahead and pop them in the oven. Okay, so my oven has been preheated to 425. I'm going to go ahead and set the timer to 20 minutes. Just because I like them a little golden, but the recipe calls for 15 to 20 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and pop them in the oven really quick. And we'll check back in 20 minutes. Okay, so there's 7 minutes left on the timer and they are just bubbling away. Okay guys, so the kielbasa bites are ready. I'm gonna go ahead and take them out. Oh my goodness, they look beautiful. Look at that, they look so golden. So I'm gonna go ahead and plate these up and show you the presentation in a minute. So for the asparagus cream cheese finger sandwiches, you're going to need the following ingredients. For the spread, you're going to need an 8-ounce pack of softened cream cheese. I just left it out at room temperature and it got a little soft. You're going to need a 15-ounce can of asparagus spears. I'm going to go ahead and use the tips, and you can get any brand as long as it's the 15-ounce. You're going to also need about 3 tablespoons of mayo. I'm going to play it by ear and see how it goes. I'm going to maybe add a little more, a little less. And you're going to need a teaspoon of onion. I had a little sliver left over from yesterday that I decided to hold for this recipe rather than cut up a whole new onion. So I'm going to use that. And the original recipe does call for almonds, but I'm going to omit that because I want more of a creamier spread. And the original recipe was also, it also got some reviews that it was delicious. Although it was delicious, but it was a little bland, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of garlic powder. I'm going to go ahead and add half a teaspoon of that. And I might add salt. I'm not sure. I might not. We'll just see. And for this recipe, you're also going to need, obviously, a half a teaspoon. You're going to need a teaspoon. You're going to need a spatula of some kind to rub the mixture away from the sides of the processor. I'm just going to use a small processor here because that's all I've got, but if you have a larger one, that's even better. And a bowl just to add all the ingredients and make the spread. And to finalize, once the spread is done, you're going to need sandwich bread, and the one that I recommend for this is the the brand that I get is Dandy Giant. You could get any store brand, but the one I recommend is the one that's pretty square, because the slices are nice and easy to cut, and you'll get nice decent finger sandwiches out of those. So let's get started. Okay guys, so I did forget to mention that you are definitely going to need a can opener if you don't have asparagus that comes in a flip top container. So that is a tool you will be needing. And I also forgot to mention the tablespoon, which you're going to need for the mayonnaise. So the first thing I'm going to do is just take out the asparagus. I've already drained the can, and it's very tender, so I'm going to go ahead and use just the tips. So just remove this right here, and I'm going to go ahead and add the tips to the food processor. The recipe calls for mashing them, but I want a very, very smooth texture. And I'm going to go ahead and also add the teaspoon of minced onion. I don't want any crunchy pieces left in there. A few won't really bother me much, but just adding that for flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cutting board out of the way. And I'm just going to go ahead and blend. I want to mash the sides down to make sure everything gets blended. Okay, that looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and put that aside. Let's see how I can do this. And you're going to go ahead and just pour that into a bowl. And now I'm going to go ahead and add the cream cheese. I'm going to go ahead and cut this in a few chunks just so I can get them in there. and mix this one with the 3 tablespoons of mayo. I'm just making one big mess here. But it's going to be delicious. So I'm going to go ahead and cover that and give it a spin. Get that in there. So it gets incorporated. A very soft whipped texture, and that looks perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to get this out of here. Let me get a piece of paper. It's hard to grab with sticky fingers, slippery fingers. It is a little bit of a messy recipe, but I promise you guys, it is totally worth it. So I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of the cream cheese to the food processor. Get that all whipped up. And once I'm done, I will show you what it looks like. Okay guys, so before I go ahead and whip up this second batch of the cream cheese, I'm going to go ahead and add a 1/4 tablespoon of mayo just to give it a softer texture. Consistency. And oh wait, and I have to add, I almost forgot, the garlic powder. So I'm going to go ahead and add a 1/2 teaspoon of that. Just to give it a little bit of flavor. And maybe a little dash of salt. Okay, that looks great. So I'm gonna go ahead and attempt to take this blade out once again. This is not the easiest thing, and it is the messiest recipe of all. But it looks so good and it smells delicious. Can't wait to put it all together. So let's see. Pop this out. Get all this out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and scoop it all into the bowl. And I'm sure you can hand blend this, but I just wanted to go ahead and make the cream cheese as whipped and smooth as possible. So I'm going to keep blending until it has an even looking color. Okay, so I'm going to taste it. Oh wow. Oh wow. This is delicious. Oh my goodness. You can taste the onion. It's not strong, it's just slightly, gives it a little bit of a tang, and the garlic is absolutely delicious. It's totally what it needed. If you don't tell kids there's asparagus in this, they won't even know. It is so delicious, and it has a beautiful, beautiful color. So I'm gonna go ahead and chill this for about 10 minutes, but you don't need to. If you have guests that arrived, you can just go ahead and assemble it. So here's the spread. It looks absolutely beautiful and tastes even better. I'm gonna go ahead and start assembling the sandwiches. To give you an idea. These would make a wonderful, wonderful snack for guests you weren't expecting, someone that drops by really quick for a little while. So what you will do is cut off the edges. So I'm going to very carefully to make sure you have a sharp knife so that you get this perfect square. Get that little piece off, and then you're just gonna go ahead and cut them down the middle, and they're gonna look like that. So you just start assembling your platter. I'm gonna keep doing these. I'm gonna keep adding the spread and cutting off the edges, and when I've got it all set up, I will show you what the finished product looks like. Okay everyone, so here are the finger sandwiches assembled. I was able to get a full platter. I could have actually packed them in a little bit tighter if I had a full loaf of bread, but we had already eaten about 6 slices, so that should give you a good idea of maybe what a full loaf of giant bread can give you. And I went ahead and added just a little bit of pepper jack cheese that I had a wedge of, with some really pretty toothpicks with fringe on top, and I thought that would be a nice presentation for any small event that you might have, or even large ones. You can always double this recipe, triple it, but this is just a quick and easy appetizer for guests that might have just shown up unexpectedly, or maybe as a precursor to an event you are invited to. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this recipe. And by the way, I still have a little less than half of the cream cheese mixture left, so if you guys maybe want to do 2 loaves, you can have just enough for that, so thought I'd let you know. Okay, so for the cream cheese clouds, you will be needing a package of Grand's buttermilk biscuits, and you need the 16.3 ounce package. You're going to need 4 tablespoons of melted butter, which is half a stick. You're going to need a package of cream cheese, 8 ounces. You're going to need half a cup of sugar. You're going to need a tablespoon of cinnamon. 2 bowls, one for melting the butter and the other one for the cinnamon and sugar mixture. And you're also going to need a muffin pan, greased. I'm going to go ahead and grease it with the other piece of butter that I had left, just because everything tastes better with butter. And I'm going to be using a knife and a cutting board to cut the cream cheese into 12 cubes. So I'll be back when I've got all this ready. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is mix the cinnamon and the sugar in a bowl. And we're going to need a tablespoon of cinnamon. That looks good. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and put that aside. And I've already melted the butter, which is going to be used to dip the cream cheese cubes in, to later dip in the sugar mixture. So right now I'm going to go ahead and open these biscuits up. Yeah, if they don't pop on their own, you got to pop them. Now for this recipe you need, you actually only need 6 biscuits and you need to cut them in half. But right here I have 8, so I'm not going to use 2 of them. Let me just put them aside. So what I'm going to do is just get each biscuit. So I'm cutting these in half because you're going to need 12 pieces. And what we need to do is just spread them out until they are about, I don't know, 1/4 inch thick. So that looks good. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put those aside, and I'm going to go ahead and grease the muffin pan. Just grease it generously with some butter. You can use cooking spray if you like. I just think butter is so good for baking. So now it is time to cut the cream cheese. Here's the block. And I'm going to need 12 pieces, so let's see. I'm going to cut into thirds. I think that's how we're going to get the most even pieces. Okay. Now the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to put these aside. I'm going to get some dough ready. Just going to lay it out. I'm going to get a piece of butter, dunk it in a piece of cream cheese, dunk it in the butter. And then dredge it in the cinnamon sugar. And drop it in the center of the dough. And then just bring the dough over it. And pinch all the edges closed. Just as so. And drop it in the pan. This is a fun and easy recipe. Most people have dough in their fridge, and after you see this recipe, how good it is, you're going to want to have some dough in your fridge at all times. So I'm imagining this is going to be wonderful for guests, if you have company. You can have this. This would probably be a wonderful dish to have during brunch, maybe if you get early morning visitors. And this would also make a wonderful dessert. Maybe you have someone drop by late at night after they've had dinner and you want to have a little something to offer them. This is just delicious. These will also make a very nice little breakfast. So I'm going to go ahead and continue filling the doughs, and once I've got them all done, I'll go ahead and show you the next step. So as you guys can see, the pieces of cream cheese are really, really generous, and that's probably why they're called cream cheese clouds, because once you break them open, there's a ton of cream cheese on the inside. So that's all you do. You just pinch them on top and place them in the pan. So that's what the pan looks like when it's complete. They're all pinched on top. I need to make sure they're all completely sealed. And so it calls for all the extra butter to be poured over the top. Just drizzled a little bit. Hope I have enough to do this to all of them. That looks good. And then it calls for the remaining cinnamon sugar to be sprinkled over the tops. I'm sure they want me to be very generous, but I think that's good. I think I'm supposed to use the whole mixture, but that looks wonderful. So they're done. So let me pop them in the oven. Okay, so the oven's been preheated to 350. I'm going to go ahead and put the timer on 15 minutes. Start. And I will go ahead and pop them in the oven. And we'll check back in a few minutes. Okay, so there's just about a minute left in the baking process. And these cream cheese clouds look beautiful. Just look at all that butter and cinnamon sugar bubble away. Yum. Okay, so the cream cheese clouds are done, and I wanted to show you guys how delicious they look inside. The cheese is just all melted on the inside. I wish I had my both hands free to show you this, but they are just delicious. I had to let them cool because they were just so hot. But the bottoms have all the sugar glazed with the butter. They're so good, you guys. It smells so good. I already tasted a little piece of it, and I totally recommend this with maybe some coffee. So like I said, these are great for breakfast or maybe as an evening snack. So I hope you guys enjoyed these recipes. Please remember to go visit Bridgett at her YouTube channel. I'm going to put her link down below. Let me know if you try any of these recipes. They are so delicious. I'm actually going to serve them to my family tonight for dinner. I did not cook. This is what I've been doing all afternoon, and this is what we're having for dinner. So I will catch you guys next time. Make sure that if you're not subscribed, to subscribe to me. I do vlogs, I do hauls, I do a little bit of everything. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit the like and subscribe and share button, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!